In this video, we'll look at how macros work in SAVI, how to make them, the 3 types of macros, and a few common use cases. The version shown is 3.5, but the basic concepts covered in this video apply to all versions of Creator. In SAVI, macros are an efficient way to send several commands very quickly by saving them and then calling them again when needed. This can be according to a set schedule, launching a macro manually, or based off some specific event. We'll first make a button macro that sets up the displays, audio, and lighting for the bar. In the macro section within Creator, click Create New Macro and give it a name. You can see the new macro was automatically saved and has been added to the list of macros here. All future edits to this macro will need to be manually saved using the Save button. If you attempt to navigate away, SAVI will warn you to prevent losing any unsaved changes. Since this macro will affect endpoints only in the bar, I want it to be visible whenever the bar filter is selected in Facility View, so I'll change the location to bar. For the description, I'll enter a brief text informing users what this macro will do when executed. Be sure this description is always updated whenever you make changes to a macro, as end users will expect the macro's functionality to match whatever's written in this description. With these basic settings complete, I now want to select some of my bar displays so I can choose commands for them. I can do this by adding a device container by clicking here. In this dropdown, I can see all devices within the project. To speed things up, I'll type bar, and under LG WebOS display, I'll select the odd numbered displays. If you're wanting to select everything within a section, you can click the title of a section and it will select everything. For my example, I'm wanting to set different content on the even displays, so I'll select them separately after this. With the odds selected, you can see another box has appeared. The command box is now available for me to choose the commands I want to send to all of the above devices. Note that whatever type of device you've chosen in the device container determines what types of commands are available here. For this example, I'll choose Set Layout. This command has appeared here, but the warning icon is telling me I need to actually select an argument for the command. In this case, I need to specify a layout. I'll click the command, choose my L-board layout, and hit OK. Since my L-board layouts have a source region, I'll also want to specify what source they should play. I'll choose the play command, and again, click it, and then choose the source. Now I'll add another device container, and this time select the even displays. Then set a full screen layout, this one with a different source showing. Note that I didn't need to choose any on commands, as setting a layout to a display in SAVI will also tell that display to turn on first. Now for the audio, I'll add another device container, select the bar audio zone, and choose the play command again. But this time I'm selecting an audio source. I also want to set the volume to my preset level of normal, which I have saved. So I'll just choose the Set Volume to Preset command and select normal as the argument. I also think it's a good idea to add a 500 millisecond delay in between the play command and the volume command. So I'm going to add another command here called delay, and then drag it between the two, since commands always get executed from left to right and from top down. Note that you can also change the amount of the delay by clicking on it and editing the argument. Lastly, I'll select my bar lights, and send 2 commands to it. Set color, and then set brightness. Now my basic macro looks complete. If I wanted to test functionality, I could go to Facility View in a new tab, locate the macro, and hit Start to execute it, or I could just click the Test button here, which does the same thing. Next, I'll go over scheduled macros and a few advanced features. For this example, my intent is to use macros to shut off everything in the bar at closing time, so staff members don't have to turn off all the audio, lights, and displays manually. What I'll do now is make a new macro called bar shutdown, add a device container, and select the bar displays off, bar audio off, and bar lights off macros, all of which I had created earlier. With these three selected, I can now choose the command run. Now I have a macro that, whenever executed, will launch the other macros. Regarding the schedule aspect, I could change this type to schedule and set the appropriate time here, but what if the bar shuts down at different times throughout the week? It would be smarter if I created another separate macro for each of these schedules. First, I'll make one called weekday shutdown and set the schedule for Monday through Thursday with a time of 10 p.m. Now for the other scheduled times, I'll just duplicate this macro and change the time on this one to the weekend closing time on Friday and Saturday. Then I'll duplicate once more and set this one to Sunday at 8 p.m. Now, if I ever need to add or edit anything that occurs during the bar shutdown, I can simply edit the one macro that I need to adjust, instead of making the same edit 3 times in 3 separate schedule macros. Another note about the schedule macros is that they can also function as a standard button. If someone clicks Start on this macro, all the commands will get executed immediately, but when the scheduled time is reached, the macro will also execute again. One last macro we'll look at will be an event macro. I'll create a new one again and call it Fire Alarm. My intent here is to shut off all audio and load custom relevant warning content for the displays in the event that the fire alarm is activated. You can see I've changed the type to event and left the location set to equipment closet, since the macro affects the entire facility, not just one location. For event macros, the first thing we need to choose is a device to listen to. For my project, I have a Connect.io IR module installed with a contact sensor connected to the fire alarm system. I'll choose the IR module here, and for the device event, I'll choose Contact Changed. With that selected, I can now specify a port for the module, which in my case is the 3rd port, so I'll pick that one. Since the normal fire alarm circuit state is open, I'll switch this to closed. This way, when the state does become closed, the macro will know to execute. Now, with the event itself properly configured, I can finish the rest of the macro, which is simply listing devices and commands like any other macro. For this one, I'll select all audio zones and send the command off. I'll then do the same thing for the portrait displays. And for landscape displays, I'll choose Set Layout and pick the fire alarm layout that already contains the proper messaging. When creating your own macros, be sure to make use of the duplicate feature, and remember to organize and plan out the macros ahead of time to reduce troubleshooting and editing time in the future. While this video is only a quick guide, know that there are dozens of commands to choose from, including save and restore commands. You'll also want to carefully test each macro to ensure proper functionality. Lastly, it's worth double-checking the time zone setting in the Project tab of the Configuration section. This will determine what time the macros execute, so having this match the time zone of the venue is critical, or the macros will execute either too late or too early. This concludes our macros quick guide. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more SAVI training videos.